Hey beautiful people, what's going on? Hope you're all doing amazingly well. Today, as you can guess from the title, my video today is all about let's talk university. I'm going to be talking about my university experience, so the things that I wish I knew before starting university, the things that I learnt during it, and the things kind of like a wish list. So if I ever were to do uni again, what kind of things I'd like to see. I thought this would be very useful for somebody who's about to start university, somebody who's been through university, and again, just another sharing video where we can all come together, have a little chat, and if you've got any university tips, advice, or anything down below that I haven't mentioned in this video, please comment below. And yeah, let's just have an amazing video together where we can share about our university experiences and have an amazing time. I will say this as well, because I'm so excited. One of my last assignments I did absolutely amazing in. My grade was an 80. I couldn't believe it. Highest grade I've ever got. I'm so proud of myself. Like, that really topped off university overall. It's just been amazing. Very proud of myself, very happy. If nobody knows what an 80 means, basically in like GCSE grade, I kind of think of it as like an A/A star. So yeah, done very well. Really, really good. But yeah, without further ado, I think we should get into it. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the things that I wish I knew before starting uni. So things that would have been nice to have known previously just to get more prepped and more ready for it. First thing is exploring all your options. So really thinking about what kind of university you want to go to, if you want to live away or if you'd rather stay in closer proximity. Obviously, depending on what kind of degree/course you're doing, you'll want somewhere that's got the right facilities for that. So for example, when I did pediatric nursing, they placed me near a location where it was near to a hospital, because obviously I'd be doing night shifts and that. So you'd need to consider if you're happy to be in that location, if you did get put in that location, the resources and facilities that the university offer on their campus, really exploring all areas. For me, I was kind of looking at moving away at the time purely because I wanted that university experience, but then at the same time I didn't want to move too far away where I couldn't come home on the weekends if I wanted to. I think it would have been nice to have explored more of my options, because obviously moving away didn't quite work out for me in the end because it only lasted 6 months. But then it meant that I got to do my university degree at my local college, which is literally a 10-minute drive from where I live, and it just suited me down to the T. Another thing to consider, the general gist of it is when you go to bigger universities, you're in bigger classes, you have bigger lecture halls and whatnot, and obviously if you go to a local college, your lectures/seminars are more intimate and within smaller groups. When I went to the bigger university, I'd be mixed in with all the adult nurses, whereas the mental health nurses and us as pediatric nurses. When you had your little seminars, you were a bit more in your closer proximities. When you're doing it at a local college, you're more likely to be in closer proximities with one another, have that bit more attention, have that bit more attention for your studies and for yourself as a person. Not saying that that doesn't happen in bigger universities at all, but I just found that when I went to my local college instead, the support was more readily available compared to the bigger universities. If you feel like you can't do university because of your age, you can go at any age. You don't have to have just turned 18. You don't have to be in your early 20s. On my degree that I've just done, majority of them were mums, majority of them were working full-time as well as being full-time mums, which was amazing. They are inspirational women. Don't feel like university is ever too late. If you feel like that it's something that you've delayed and you want to go into, you might be able to do something that's part-time rather than full-time, so something that's adjustable to your lifestyle. Plain and simple, university is not easy, it's difficult. You need to try and motivate yourself as much as possible. Obviously, it doesn't happen every day. There's a lot that goes into university that I don't think people necessarily see. Unless you're close with someone that's been to university or you've been to university yourself, you really don't know how much goes into it. All the studying that you have to do, all the exams, all the prep, all the extra reading that you have to do. It is difficult. I'm not going to lie, it is 100% difficult, but it's also one of the most rewarding, amazing things you can do for yourself. And also really think about your current circumstances, adjusting to your lifestyle. So really exploring the options, really thinking about if your current circumstances enable you to be able to study at the same time. I was quite lucky where I was able to study alongside my job. So I was able to work full-time, 4 days a week, and then also attend university 1 day a week. Then it's finding the time to do all that extra reading that that you've got to do, or the writing of assignments, because you really will need that time. You kind of have to sacrifice quite a bit and really put yourself first and your studies first, because it does benefit you in the long run. So definitely do a lot of research, definitely talk to different people, different advisors from universities. There's always extra support to talk to people and really gauge from them what they think would be best to do. Don't be put off by any of this. These are just tips that I found that I know for me personally, if I were to start university all over again, these are the things that I would want to know. So now we're going to go into the things that I learned during my time at university. So first thing was planning time effectively. I'm going to be honest, it was a bit of an imbalance sometimes. Sometimes I found that I could plan my time really effectively, but then other times it would be a week before the assignment deadline. I hadn't done anything for it and I thought, oh, why did I not do it? But then at the time I was doing my dissertation and I also had another assignment due in the week after the dissertation was due. It's really hard, especially when it's one of like the biggest projects of the year, when you're focusing solely on that, to do everything else around it as well. I know for me, my weeks always were different because my shifts were different at work, so therefore I had to make it work so that it fitted around my shifts around work, what I was doing that weekend. Really managing your time effectively, making sure that you're not doing too much, making sure that you're doing just the right amount, or you're doing excessive 13 hours. I have done that before. Otherwise, you just burn yourself out. You end up working later than what you planned, or getting up early and finishing things up the morning of your assignment hand-in date. You just tire yourself out and you think, oh, why did I do this? And you instantly think, oh, like, no, I should have done this. Definitely plan your time effectively. Need support? Look no further than your peers, your tutor and your lecturers. Especially your tutor and your lecturers. They have been there, done that. They know everything that goes into university. They know every single feeling, thoughts that you're going through. They completely understand and they are there to support you. Don't feel like that once you start there that you need to be an adult, that you can do this on your own, that you don't need any help at all. We all need help at some point. There were times where I look back and I thought, oh, I should have asked for help. I should have been a bit more upfront and just been a bit like, this is what I need. Remember, this is your study. This is what you want to gain out of it. If you need help with something, if you're not understanding something, if you feel like a complete idiot and you feel like university is too intellectual for me, talk to your lecturer, talk to your tutor, talk to somebody that is working closely with you at university, because they're more than likely to get it. Talk to your peers, because 9 times out of 10 they feel exactly the same as you, or have felt the exact same as you. Once we had it all out with each other, people would join in and say, yep, I feel exactly the same. And more than likely, if a lot of you are feeling that way, you might get an extension to do your assignment dates, which is what a few of us had. You build that communal work ethic within your group, so you all come together and it's just nice to share that. So if you ever need support, just ask. If you've got PowerPoints set up, print them the night before if you can. It just makes it easier, because then the night before you can just quickly browse through it and kind of gauge an idea of what's going to be happening in your lecture the next day. You can bring some ideas and thoughts to the table and it just gives you a bit of a head start on things. This is again another one that I know lecturers have always said. I've never always done it because it's never been as helpful, but it really, I think, does help in the long run. Do your reading before the lectures. It just gives you a head start on things. In my research project, obviously there's a lot of research terminology. I was really struggling with that. I'm one of those where I understand things. If somebody asks me, oh, do you know what it means? Yeah, I completely understand it, but then explaining it I find really difficult. If you do your reading before, you allow yourself to give yourself the opportunity to be that one step ahead and be like, oh yeah, it means that. And then you bring again more ideas and thoughts into things and arguments. You don't have to read 10 chapters. Just reading a couple of things, even if you just skim the abstract and the conclusion part of an academic journal, it just means that you've read a bit of something and you've kind of got an idea of what they've spoken about and what they've concluded on. So something that I wish that they'd brought more for us, I know they kind of did, but I think it would have been great to have had a bit more at the time, was more career options. Not me personally, but majority of us going into this early years degree wanted to be teachers. By the end, some didn't really know what they wanted to do. Some had gone off the idea of teaching and didn't really have a clue on what to do next. So it would have been nice to have had more of what our degree has enabled us to do, like to have a whole lecture lecture on it, I think would have been really beneficial. If something doesn't work out, for example, we could go and do this instead. Don't feel guilty either if your role that you originally chose to have for your career has diverse. Like, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel guilty that you've just done a course and you've been like, oh gosh, things have completely changed now, I really don't want to do that. That's absolutely fine. The fact that you're doing a degree and you've got a degree, and if you've hopefully completed it, then again, it just gives you more options career wise. People will see on your CVs that you've done a degree, people will see that in future job prospects and really pick up on that. So don't feel like that because your thoughts have digressed and you want to do something else, that's absolutely fine. When I first started, I thought about early years teaching, and then that kind of digressed to being a play therapist because that's something that I'd always wanted to do, and now it's kind of digressed to working with children emotionally and behaviourally, something along them side of things. As I've gone on this course, I've learned more things, and it's just enabled me to really think about what else there is out there for me. You learn what type of learner you are. Everybody has their own different style of learning. You might have all of them incorporated. Different things work for different people. So the earlier on you kind of find that out for yourself, the easier it will be to learn new things and really work out what's best for you in terms of what you can learn and how you can use that to your own advantage and enhance your personal knowledge. When you start getting your assignments back, it's really important to focus on the feedback and not the grade. I know that's really hard to do. Kind of been programmed to look solely at the mark that we've got, but most importantly, it's the feedback, because the feedback will let you know what you did well and what you need to improve on for next time. A few people previously have said what their grade's been, and I've automatically felt down about what I've got because it's not as high. It felt like I was a bit of a dunce. Don't worry about other people. Like, everybody has their own way of learning, writing style, their own ways of doing things. Don't compare yourself to others. Like, that's probably one of the worst things you could do for yourself. And if it's something that you're not very happy with, or you feel like that you know that it deserves a better grade, talk to the person that marked it, because they're likely to be able to tell you in more depth what it was that didn't give you the grade that you wanted for it. Be upfront about it. Don't be afraid to say it. Like, if you feel like it deserved a better grade, tell them that. And you never know, they might look at it and think, oh, actually, and decide to change it. Give yourself regular breaks when you're doing university as well, when you're doing your independent study, or if you're revising for exams. Try not to do bigger stints. I know that's easier said than done, because I did it for my dissertation whilst I was in lockdown, but by the end of it I was so cream crackered and I was so tired. I should have given myself regular breaks. Like, even if it's you work for 2 hours, give yourself half hour and then go for another 2 hours. If you're somebody that needs to work a bit more full on full time, then give yourself a 9 till 5 working day kind of thing, just so you're not over stressing yourself. Because sometimes you can do things, you can write this up and think, yep, there, that's done. Then you might look back on it the next day and think, actually, why did I write it like that? I could have written it like this. I'm going to change it. Even just doing things for a day and then leaving it a couple of days and coming back to it just gives you a fresh pair of eyes. You look through things. Sometimes there might be a few typos in there that you didn't see before, things that don't make sense, so you need to rewrite it. It's just really good to have breaks so you're not cramming it all in one day. Some people work really well with that. Some people work really well with cramming to deadlines. Again, it's not comparing yourself to others, it's just finding what works for you. If you're not somebody that's very ICT literate as well, or you find using certain programs and software is really difficult, give yourself time to have a look around, do a bit of exploring, watch some YouTube videos, educate yourself on how to do that. It just takes less time in being able to do it. We were really lucky in the fact that we had a load of people that worked in ICT that worked closely with our department. During lockdown, they gave us ideas on how to do things, how to show us how to do things, and you can probably do that with a lot of people at universities and local colleges. You can seek people from ICT to help you and support you, but just give yourself a bit of time to have a little play around with it, not when it's a week before an assignment day and you've got no clue, and it just saves you a lot of time in the long run. Changes in lecturers. Throughout the 3 years, we had changes in every single year. In our first year, we had 2 lecturers to start with. One went on mat leave, another got another job somewhere else, so we had a new lecturer. And then at the end of the year, because she was on a fixed contract, she left us after 6 months, and then we had somebody else for a year and a half, and then she left to go somewhere else. Kind of expect that might happen, because like us, they all have lives, they all have different things that they want to do, and job opportunities. I don't think it really affected us that much, but then at the same time, hearing the news that, especially if it's somebody that you work really close with and you think that is an amazing lecturer, once they say that they're going, and then you have to go and meet somebody else and adjust to their learning style and how they deliver things and whatnot, you've then got to adjust to that, and it can be quite a lot on you. Change sometimes is stressful. They'll probably ask you as well, they'll probably ask how you're feeling and whatnot, like express how you're feeling, because they all want to know, and then they will do whatever they can to support you through those transitions. It's okay to wobble and break down. I have had plenty of times where I've had a wobble and I've broken down. You will have moments where you feel like that you can't do this anymore, that you're gonna have to stop what you're doing and just admit defeat. There's always like a period that I found that is from the beginning of the year to probably about November to December, when Christmas comes around. Your first wobble tends to be then, and then into January, and it's a bit like a roller coaster. So they say that you go up and then you come back down, and then you sort of align, and you come back up, and then you down, and then it's very up and down. But don't feel like that it's not normal to do that. It is completely normal to do that. It is normal to have disbelief and feel like that you can't do it anymore. But again, it's just opening up to people and just being honest about how you feel. Don't allow other peers' grades, worries, thoughts on what they're doing distract you from what you're doing. I've had it a couple of times before where people have said that they're doing things this way, or that they haven't started this, or that they started that, or they've got these grades and whatnot. Don't compare yourself. Don't allow that to distract you. I know it's hard sometimes because you want to know what people are doing, and if you're doing things right, you kind of adapt to your own thing when you go to university. Even though you're all doing the same course and you're all there for the same reason, you've all got different ways and different lives, and the ways that you do things within your life come together and are completely different to each and every person. Some people do things very differently to what you do. Some people learn things easily. Some people take time to learn new things, and it's just being respectful of that, and it's accepting that people have different intellectual abilities and whatnot, but it doesn't mean to say that anybody is any better than the other. You're all there for the same reason. You've all been picked to be on this course for the same reason, so don't allow yourself to feel threatened or defeated by other people's comments or what they've got, because university is all about you. It's normal to have an imbalance of grades. I found that purely because we did different units throughout the whole 3 years. We all understand things more from units than we do others. There's just things that we seem to suit and be able to just be like, yep, I got that. This year especially, I learned that policy is not my strong point. It really isn't. I despise policy because I don't understand it at all. But then on the other hand, I found out that I'm very good at presentations. I'm very good at speaking openly, and previously all essay that I didn't do the best in. It was probably one of my worst ones I did, but then it came into something else and I did really well on it. You'll find things more interesting in some units than you do to others, and you've just got to understand things as best as you can. Don't feel defeatist if you did well in one assignment and not so well in the other. There's different things that you like learning about compared to other things, and that's absolutely fine. By year 3, we'll just be telling ourselves, it doesn't matter about the grade, it's all about passing. Remember why you're doing this in the first place. Sometimes when we feel pressured and stressed and just down on ourselves, we can forget why we've decided to do university in the first place. At the beginning of the year, when you're doing your personal statement or when you're applying for things, why are you doing it? When you feel like that you don't want to carry on anymore, why did you start? If you feel like that you can't do this anymore, what's stopping you from carrying on? Really sit down with yourself and just remember why you're doing it. There was times when I would be thinking, why am I doing this? This is so stressful. But then think of the outcome that's going to come from it. Now I've got this degree, hopefully when I get my result, I can go and do anything that I want to do, within that field of stuff, or, in a completely different field. Remembering why you're doing it in the first place. Is it your passion that you've had for a long time? Is it something that you want to do as a career for the rest of your life? Be kind to yourself. I know it's hard sometimes, especially when you're thinking in your head, because your thoughts can override everything else, but talk to yourself out loud and say kind things to yourself. Say things like, I'm doing the best best I can. I'm putting my all into this and I'm going to have an amazing outcome. All I can do is my best. Be really positive and optimistic. As soon as you start saying negative stuff to yourself, you're going to put yourself off and more than likely stop yourself from carrying on. And that's not what we want for university. We want you to be happy with why you're doing this and getting yourself through this, because you can do it. Loads of people have been in the exact same position as you, and you can do this. That's another thing you can say to yourself. You can do this. Don't feel like that you're alone in this or that you're the only one feeling this way, because all of your peers will be feeling this way. All of your lecturers will know how you've been feeling, and the most amazing lecturers will be the ones that will come to all of you at the beginning of your lecture and ask you, how's it going? How are you doing today? How are you feeling? Are you getting on with this all right? Is there anything that you want me to go through? Like, the most amazing experienced lecturers will be the ones that will ask you those type of questions. Our lecturer / tutor in our last year was truly amazing. She was somebody that if you needed to email her, call her, she would be available for you. She was so supportive. If you needed an extension, she'd be able to give it to you. She was just so lovely, but she was also so supportive and just wanted you to do well because she knew you could do it. Just talk to them about how you're feeling if you're feeling really rubbish, or if things are happening in your personal life and you're feeling like you're struggling a lot. I had that back in January this year, and it really helped to be able to talk about with peers and also my lecturer, and have that option that if I did need an extension, I could. If I needed to have some time, I could. They will provide you with different options and different advice, so definitely go to them about things. Have strategies in place for when you are feeling stressed. Schedule your day. So say, for example, in the morning I'm going to go and exercise from 9 till 5. I'm going to treat it like a working day and do all my work. And then after I've done that, I'm going to reward myself with a funny film, go and see my friends, go and do some cooking, go and listen to a podcast, just something that's just going to de-stress you. Just stop on all accords of doing anything related to work. Like, give yourself that time to do it. Meditation is also amazing as well when you need a de-stress and a bit of a break. Call somebody on the phone. I love a phone call. It's always nice when I can ring up friends and just be completely about something completely different and just taking my mind away from all the work. Definitely have things put in place when you are feeling like that, so you can just think, nope, I'm just gonna take some time away and I'm gonna go and do this. Lastly, the things that would be great for future reference for university. So if I was to do university again, so the facilities and places that they have on campus, have they got things like a gym, a really good eating area, good study areas? I think we weren't overly impressed sometimes with the food choices that we had at our place. As boring as those type of things are, in the long run they really will benefit you. Have they got a library and an ICT facility, so lots of computers, things you can take out and borrow easily, especially if you're a higher education student and you're going into a college? Have they got nice quiet areas for you to study? Because I know for colleges, obviously they facilitate for 16 to 18-year-olds, and sometimes they can be a little bit noisy, so they can distract you from your studies. So have they got enough places where you can go and do that? You might want to take up a new hobby whilst you're doing your study breaks, and just something that's going to give you a bit of space away from that. If you are moving away, have they got places around where you can like go and eat in different places, leisure centres where they got bowling and things like that? You know, just things to consider, like things that I would like to check out in future if I was going to do it again. You've got to think of it as like your second home. So have these things got the resources and facilities that you want, that's going to benefit you and your study in the long run? Visits to places, guest speakers. We had a couple of visits from people. We had a play therapist visit us once, which was really good. I had a couple of guest speakers before from a university where we would go to visit them at university, and the same whilst we were in lockdown, we had a video chat with one of them as well, which was really informative. I think just having things like that just gives you opportunity to go and see another university and their ways of things and their ways of thinking for the future. If you want to go into postgraduate study or into a master's, it's just something to consider in future. Occupations as well. This was something that really niggled me. I found this really annoying, and I'm going to be honest about it because it really annoyed me. When you want careers advice, normally it's aimed at 16 to 19-year-olds because that's what they kind of aim it for, especially if you're at a college campus. When you're at a university, I think it's more expected that you kind of have an idea of what you want to do, but you have that option there anyway. And I remember going to a careers advisor at my local college, and she said that they only catered for 16 to 19-year-olds and gave me the reference of a website to look on. But then when I went to go see another lady, she said that that was complete rubbish. so complete contradiction, that they do cater for careers advice for more mature students. I had a meeting with her, I put forth what I wanted to do, and she kind of gave me some information. She didn't really know about the fields that I was talking about, which again is a bit of a, I know people can't always know every single thing about every single occupation, but then she said she was going to keep in touch and she'd give me all this information. I never heard back, and that was at the end of my second year. That was very disappointing. If you wanted to go into another field, but it would mean that you'd have to go to another university and do a completely different degree, then you would need that information as soon as possible, because you might have had to have applied through UCAS. You might have missed the deadline already. That was probably one of the cons of the place that I went to study, just to have a bit more occupational advice and careers advice on what we could do in future, I think would have been better. If it would be beneficial for you to have somebody to pop in at some point, like mention it to your lecturer, because other people might like that as well, but they just haven't mentioned that idea yet. So at the end of the day, it's your education, you know, you're paying however much a year to do this degree, so you need to get out of it what you can. A bit more independent study as well would be great, because I know quite a few of us, when we were wanting to get our assignment done that was due within the next week or few days, then we wanted time to do it. So sometimes just having study time at home rather than having to go into university would have been really useful, especially when you're a higher education student or a mature student. You're more than capable of doing independent study from home, which a lot of us were. Personally, for me, I didn't want to be going in if all we were going to be doing is reading off a PowerPoint. If it was something that I could do at home, then I'd rather do it at home. I prefer learning at home. It just gives me more peace of mind, and I just find that I get things done easily. I mean, they were quite good with independent study anyway, especially towards the end of the year. But yeah, just something to think about as well. Something else as well that I'm really passionate about, and something that I think that they should incorporate more, I really do, more mental health services for people. I think they should have more things in place, because as human beings, we all have lives, we all have different experiences, we all have things going on that are affecting us more than what we would like it to. It would have been nice to have had something to help us with that. I know throughout the whole 3 years we were there, the people that were in my group, we all had things going on. We all had that time period where we were really struggling, especially our mental health as well. It just would have been nice to have had a bit of support with that. Just something that we could go to if we were really struggling with our mental health, if we were feeling anxious or depressed or had a lot of difficulties going on. I think it would have made it a bit more of a breath of fresh air experience, knowing that our mental health was being taken care of. Not to say that, you know, if we were going through things, we couldn't talk to our lecturers or anything like that, because we could, and they were amazing. But I think just having that as a separate thing, so that if you do need somebody to talk to, then you've got that specific person you can talk to. And the last thing, which is a really fun one to do, and one that should be encouraged in all areas, really celebrate every assignment when you've handed it in. Celebrate every assignment when you get it back and you've passed it. Celebrate at the end of the year when you've completely done everything. Like, every little accomplishment you feel, celebrate it. You're doing this yourself. This is not an easy thing to do. When you're celebrating these things with yourself or with other people, then it's just nice, because then you know you've worked hard, you know you're doing things for yourself, and that's the main thing at the end of the day. So really celebrate your achievements, the littlest, tiniest things as well. Just celebrate everything you can. I think that's pretty much all I can think of for university. I feel like this is going to be a really long video, but it's a really nice video to look through. I would have loved to have had a video like this to kind of prep myself for it and really look towards and get advice on, to really, you know, prep me for getting the most out of my university experience as I possibly can. And now a video has been created for it, so pat on the back for me. So thank you very much for watching. If you have got this far, please comment down below if there's any other advice / tips that you've learned from your experiences, or any other questions you'd want answered. If you want me to do another one kind of like this where I go into more detail on specific topics, then please let me know. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.